Hello friends, in this episode we're breaking down the harsh Polish realities in 2026. Why do 90 doctors, including migrants and Ukrainians, fail their exams? Why? Has the European Union digitized our faces in the Eurodac system? And most importantly, how the labor inspection in Poland will start a total crackdown on fake contracts and self-employment from July 8. Let's figure it out now. Please, friends, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Huge thanks to everyone who takes just 2 seconds for these simple actions. Thank you for your support, everyone. By the way, friends, you can immediately write a comment to help this video get more views. Write something like, "Bald guy, why aren't you at the front?" or something about Fantomas. Now let's get down to business. Let's focus on the Państwowe Labor Inspectorate's inspections from July 8th, not Powiatow's. This marks the end of effective fictitiousness. If you work in Poland under mandate contracts, contracts of specific task, or contracts for work, or if you handle things through B2B contracts, there's important news. As I already said, starting from July 8th, the Państwowe Labor Inspectorate is getting new teeth and launching a large-scale assault on grey employment schemes. Inspectors now absolutely don't care what you have written on paper or how fancy your contract is called. The main focus is on the harsh reality of how things actually work. The main question is whether your employer is disguising regular employment relationships, hiring you under flexible civil law contracts instead of employment contracts, of course, to save on taxes and your vacation time. During an inspection, the inspector will evaluate 3 key criteria. If all of them match, the contract automatically turns into a full employment contract. That is, personal presence? Yes, these are the key parameters. In other words, you personally perform the duties, and you can't delegate them to, say, your brother-in-law. Next, your boss is always supervising you. The work is carried out under the employer's direct control or supervision. Third, schedule and location. The boss strictly determines the hours and the specific site or office where you are required to be. The most interesting part is the punishment mechanism. No more long court battles for years. If an inspector finds violations, they immediately issue an order to fix them. If the employer doesn't fix it on the spot, the case goes further. It goes to the inspector, who by their administrative decision forcibly rewrites the contract into an employment agreement. And in some cases, it's done immediately. On top of that, all control becomes fully digital. Yes, a digital collar. The databases of the PIP, ZUS, and the tax office are now unified. The system will automatically identify suspicious contractors. For example, if you set up a company on a B2B basis, but for a whole year you issue invoices to only one single client, and accordingly you sit in their office from 9 to 6, but be prepared for an inspection visit. Models. The models of cooperation will have to be seriously reconsidered, so employers, well, they'll either have to brace themselves for tough times or actually start hiring people properly. Of course, it's unlikely there will be mass layoffs or anything like that, but there will be inspections. Yes, we'll be watching. Next, friends, we have a story from the field of medicine. Reports say that the Polish Medical Examination Center has released the latest data, the May qualification exam in Polish. How many foreign doctors do you think passed? Fewer than 10 Ukrainian specialists, by the way. Bait for comments. Friends, do you go to Ukrainian doctors in Poland? What do you think of their qualifications? Honestly, I haven't personally gone myself. I have a female friend who went, well, she's an older lady from the Soviet past. Yes, she's Armenian. She's been in Poland for a long time. Terrible, that's it. But if you have a different opinion, again, write it in the comments. So, 89 people went to the exam, but only 12 made it through. You might wonder, Denchik, how Ukrainian doctors ended up with such high qualifications. How did that happen? These are highly educated, experienced people, yet the result is disappointing. So, what's causing the problem? So, the essence of the conflict is that the Polish side, represented by Dr. Damian Pateki, points out that it's not about prejudice against Ukrainians. It's not like, let's just fail them on the exam. It's not some kind of conspiracy. The thing is, fundamentally, these are 2 different educational and bureaucratic systems. Because for the Poles, it's a purebred Prussian school. German traditions taken to the extreme. Strict procedures, enormous amounts of paperwork. 1 step left or right and you'll be shot on the spot, professionally speaking. No improvisation or intuition, everything is strictly by the book. Ukraine still follows a post-Soviet model. Here, the system is more flexible, but also better in some ways. This leads to the main paradox, which ruins the careers of seemingly experienced professionals. Imagine, for example, a surgeon in his 40s. Back home, in his homeland, he has performed hundreds of the most complex surgeries. He has 4 different specializations. For example, surgery, cardiac surgery, transplantology, and so on. He comes to Poland and they tell him, "Dear sir, your residency in one type of surgery is listed, and it lasts at least 5 years here. But in your case, your internship was 3 years. So, sit down at the desk and prove everything from the very beginning according to our standards." And for a professional, this is, well, probably a certain kind of psychological frustration. And the system simply doesn't see him as a qualified specialist. Well, look, this is so you don't think that it's just Ukrainians like such dumb doctors. No, they're absolutely not dumb. Numbers are a stubborn thing, just so you understand the scale of what's happening. Here are the statistics from the spring session. Ukrainian doctors passed 8%, that is less than 1 in 10. That is, all they had to do was score at least 120 points out of 200. I think there are 200 questions. Belarusian doctors, their situation is a little better. 31% passed, so almost every third one. Polish citizens who studied abroad, let's say in Scotland, in England, in France, it doesn't matter, and they came back, only 7% passed. So the system even messes with its own people, right? And if you look at the period since 2021, that's almost 2,000 attempts by Ukrainian doctors. 2,000 attempts, only 165 were successful. That's an 8.5% success rate. Well, that's how it is, my friends. And here's the cherry on top of this bureaucratic cake. It's the language issue, the era of simplified COVID military employment. Yes, when some things were overlooked, is coming to an end. Starting from May 2026, well, we've talked about this before, just briefly. Come on, dear Ukrainian comrades, show your certificate of Polish language proficiency at the B1 level, no certificate, goodbye. District chambers have already started massively revoking temporary work permits. 440 doctors from outside the EU, including Ukrainians, have lost their licenses, and another 800 are next in line. What conclusion can we draw from this? Here it is. So, well, the conclusion is simple. The personnel integration system spares no one, and it's not enough to just be a good doctor with a lot of experience. They need people who will be perfect. Part of the local legal and language system. Polish healthcare faces a staff shortage, but lowering standards or altering long-standing institutions for some foreign specialists. Poles refer to these specialists sarcastically. No one will actually do that. In short, learn the language, memorize foreign protocols, or change your profession. So, friends, what else? What else caught my attention? There's some movement on our western borders. They report that Poland has finally and irrevocably joined the updated European Biometric Registry under the code name Eurodac. There you go. And now you might ask me, Denchik, we seem to be reasonable people. And a reasonable question arises. What is this? What does it mean for us in practice? This, my friends, means the dialectical development of total control. How was it before? So, Eurodac essentially is an electronic database where the fingerprints of asylum seekers were carefully recorded, and those who entered the European Union illegally, such as across the Belarus-Poland border. But so that crafty citizens wouldn't try to get refugee benefits in 5 different countries at once, putting on such a performance for themselves. Well, that's part of it too. Progress doesn't stand still, and the system has been well updated and improved. Complete digitalization. Now it's not just a database for internal use, but a unified network. They've tightly linked it to this system we've talked a lot about, the entry-exit system. Yes. Phew, they don't stamp anymore. In Poland, at all 71 border checkpoints, these outdated ink stamps in passports are becoming a thing of the past. Thank God, right? Some people travel so much they must frequently replace their passports. Now it's all digital. What do they collect? Your face on camera, that's 1. Fingers on the scanner, that's 2. Your biometric data is sent to a single European hub. And you might ask, Clint, well, that's clear, but what's the benefit or the harm? What's going on? Well, the mechanics here are simple, dead simple. For someone traveling for business or to visit family, the process will be more automated and as transparent as possible for the government. Any border guard or some official in the Schengen area can, with a simple gesture, check who you are, when you entered, and whether you, dear friend, have overstayed your welcome or gone over your allowed days or anything like that. Instant verification. That's how it is. The European bureaucratic machine is tightening the screws, building a digital security perimeter on its external borders. From a control standpoint, it's a logical step. From the perspective of the romance of free travel, well, sorry, but we're living in capitalism now. Everything is calculated, every move is accounted for, everything is planned out. None of that here. They want you either to work like a dog for minimum wage or to get out of here. They made this for me from the sunny European Union. All right, friends. Here are the 3 news stories. Pardon my French for the term. Remember, TransferGo is the best money transfer service. The link is in the description. Send money to your loved ones. What else? Please write the city where you're watching from. Denis watched until the end from Bielsko-Biała, from Bratislava, from Barcelona. Where are you watching? Maybe Brussels? I really love geography, damn. So, and as usual, sorry I always forget, shout out to the working class, truck drivers, and everyone listening at work with headphones, you too. So, if you have a minute to spare and can write, then check the working class is listening, then big thumbs up to you. Friends, thank you so much for your attention. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones. See you next time, turning off the camera. Check the notification bell so you don't miss new episodes.